I've debated posting this for a while. Partly because it sounds made up, and partly because I still don't know how to explain what actually happened without sounding, I don't know, gullible? Delusional? But I think I need to get it out. Maybe someone's been through something like this. Maybe it'll help someone else avoid what I walked straight into. So, a little context. I, 33M, work remotely in software development. My wife, Anna, 31F, works in marketing, and over the last 2 years, she started traveling a lot more for her jobby conferences, team retreats, client meetups. At first, I was supportive. She's always been ambitious, and honestly, I loved seeing her light up about work again. I'd hold down the fort, feed the cat, keep the house together while she chased her goals. That's what marriage is, right? The first weird thing? A Zoom call. I wasn't snooping, just walked past her home office while she was talking to someone. She didn't see me. But behind her, on a shelf, was a photo I'd never seen before. A framed picture of her and a guy. Not just any picture, him holding her waist, both of them smiling like they were on their honeymoon. In our house. On our shelf. I paused. I stood there for a good 5 seconds, just staring. Thought maybe it was Photoshop, or some marketing thing. But then she turned, saw me, and slammed her laptop shut so fast it echoed through the hallway. She didn't even try to explain. That moment right there? That was the crack. The fracture in the glass. I didn't know it yet, but the whole damn window was about to shatter. After she shut her laptop, we just stood there in this weird, thick silence. I asked, as calmly as I could, who was that guy in the photo? And she laughed. I swear, she laughed. Said, "Oh my god, you actually noticed that? It's just a joke gift from my team. Some inside joke about a fake husband they made up when I was in Berlin last month. It's a composite photo, nothing serious." Now, I wanted to believe her. Really, I did. Because the alternative was that my wife had a literal shrine to another man in her home office. But something in her voice, it didn't sound embarrassed. It sounded rehearsed. And then she said, "Why are you spying on me during work hours anyway?" Like I was the one who'd done something shady. I brushed it off for the rest of the day, but it kept gnawing at me. That night, after she fell asleep, I went into her office. I know, maybe I shouldn't have. But I needed answers. The photo was still there, but when I picked it up, I realized it wasn't just a printed gag photo. It was professionally printed, in a real frame, with a date engraved on the corner, Rome, 2023. She didn't go to Rome in 2023. At least, not that I knew of. That was the moment the seed of doubt turned into full-blown suspicion. And Reddit, let me tell you something, I went looking. I opened Pandora's box, and I had no idea just how deep this rabbit hole went. So I did something that, in hindsight, I'm not proud of, but I also don't regret it. I checked her calendar. We share a digital one. Always have. Mainly for appointments, groceries, the occasional vet trip. But I realized there were some entries marked private. Normally, I wouldn't care. Everyone deserves their space. But after the photo and the Rome 2023 engraving, I had to know. I clicked on one of the private events. It was titled, Piano with Elle. The location, Florence. Date, 2 weeks before our anniversary. I scrolled back. There were more. Beach walk, sunset sunrise, surprise for Elle, wine cave tour, all sprinkled across months I thought she was on work trips. And then one that nearly made my stomach drop out. Our anniversary, with Elle, private dinner. I sat there, just staring at the screen, rereading that line over and over. It wasn't just betrayal, it was the fact that she'd celebrated our anniversary with another man. I didn't sleep that night. I kept asking myself how long it had been going on. Was it just physical? Was it emotional? Had she ever really stopped loving me, or had I just become background noise like the fridge humming or the cat scratching at the door? In the morning, I asked her directly. Straight up. She blinked. Once. Twice. Then asked, "Why are you digging through my personal stuff?" Not denial. Not apology. Just deflection. That's when I knew I wasn't just suspicious anymore. I was in the middle of a story I hadn't been told. And I was about to write myself into the next chapter. I couldn't let it go. Not knowing was eating me alive. I started checking her socials, nothing. Totally scrubbed. Even the people she tagged in the past were suspiciously absent now, or set to private. Her Instagram used to be full of silly vacation photos, brunches, cat pics. Now, just quotes about growth, evolution, and not needing to explain yourself to people who don't get your journey. Right. But then I found something. Not through her, through our mutual friend Sam. Sam's the type of guy who tags everyone in everything. I scrolled through one of his photo dumps from last summer. There it was, buried at the bottom, a blurry group selfie at some rooftop bar. My wife was in it. And next to her, holding her hand? A man I'd never seen before. Mid-30s, clean-cut, kind of smug-looking. His arm around her waist like it belonged there. And the caption? "Summer nights with legends, smiling face with sunglasses, L+A equals fire fire fire." That was him. That was the moment I realized something important. Everyone else knew. Sam knew. Whoever took that photo knew. Probably half the people in her work circles knew. I had been the last to know. The guy at home, feeding the cat, cleaning the gutters, waiting for her to call while she was off playing out some Instagrammable romance with this guy who literally had emoji fanfare in the comments. That kind of humiliation? It hits different. It doesn't just break your heart. It makes you question whether you've been awake for the last few years or living someone else's dream. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because now, I wanted more than the truth. I wanted the whole damn story. The next step was her old laptop. The one she said was dead, sitting in a drawer under a pile of scarves and expired tech warranties. I'm not a hacker, just a guy with Google and too much adrenaline. Took me 2 hours, a borrowed charger, and a bit of luck. The laptop booted. And it was full. Photos. Notes. Voice memos. Whole email drafts saved but never sent. And like a curse waiting to be discovered, there it was, a folder called L. Blackharta. She hadn't even tried to hide it. It was like their entire relationship scrapbook, photos of them laughing in a gondola, inside jokes and file names, scanned ticket stubs from Paris, text screenshotted and saved with little hearts in the corner. But then I found something else. Something that felt like I'd been punched in the chest. A document titled, "The Letter I'll Never Send." I opened it. It started like this. "I love you in a way I never loved him. Not even at the start. With him, it was comfort. With you, it's life. Him. That was me. The rest of it?" She talked about how she felt trapped in our routine. How she stayed because she didn't want to crush me, because I was too kind, and how she felt like she was watching her life from the outside, like a guest in her own home. I couldn't breathe. It wasn't just that she loved someone else. It was that she never really loved me at all. Not the way I thought. You know what's worse than heartbreak? Realizing you were filler. A placeholder. Background noise in someone else's story until the one they actually wanted showed up. I closed the laptop, walked out of the room, and sat on the floor of our kitchen for 2 hours. No music. No phone. Just the sound of the fridge humming behind me. And in that moment, something inside me broke. But something else started to wake up. I didn't say anything to her that night. Not one word. She came home from her yoga class or whatever it actually was and said something about dinner, like it was any normal night. I nodded, said I wasn't hungry, and went back to working. Truth is, I was done pretending. I wasn't working. I was leaving. First thing I did? Backed up everything on that old laptop to a secure drive. Emails, photos, the letter, especially that letter. I didn't know if I'd need them legally, but I needed them personally. Needed proof that I wasn't crazy. That it happened. Then I started packing. Quietly. Deliberately. Room by room. It's strange, the things you choose to take when your life implodes. I left behind the new things, the expensive things, the things she picked. I took what mattered to me. Old guitar. My grandfather's watch. The cat's adoption papers. The worn-out hoodie she always hated. Every item felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. The last thing I packed was a photo of us from our honeymoon. We looked happy. I think we were. Or maybe I was, and she was already rehearsing her exit. I stared at that photo for a long time. Then I put it face down in the drawer and left it there. It didn't feel right to take it. It wasn't ours anymore. She still had no idea. I decided I'd tell her the next night. I had something planned. Something she wouldn't expect, because up until now, I'd played the quiet, dependable guy. The one who took the hit and carried on. Not anymore. I waited until after dinner. She made pasta. Like nothing was wrong. Like we weren't living in a house made of lies and gaslight. I let her talk about her day, a new client, how she might go to Toronto next month. I smiled. Nodded. Let her finish her glass of wine. Then I stood up, leaned against the counter, and said it. I know about him. L. She paused mid-sip. Just a blink. Not even a gasp. Just this eerie, quiet stillness, like someone pressed pause on her face. She set the glass down. And then she said, okay. Not, what are you talking about? Not, it's not what it looks like. Just, okay. I swear I laughed. I wasn't even angry in that moment, I was just stunned. Like watching someone walk away from a car crash without a scratch. That's it? I asked. Just okay? She shrugged. And said, I figured you'd find out eventually. I had a whole speech planned. About betrayal. About the years I gave her. The sacrifices. The blind faith. But suddenly, it didn't matter. Her face was calm. Cold. Like we were just wrapping up a failed business partnership. I'm leaving, I said. I've packed. I'm not doing this anymore. Still calm, she just said, I'll have my lawyer contact you about the house. No tears. No apology. Not even a hint of guilt. That's when it hit me, she was already gone. Mentally. Emotionally. Probably long before Elle ever showed up. I'd been holding on to someone who'd slipped away a long time ago. It was over. And not in flames or chaos. Just a dead, echoing silence. So I leave. I'm carrying my duffel bag, holding my cat in a carrier, walking down the driveway under this flickering streetlight that's been busted since Christmas. I'm not crying. I'm not raging. I'm just empty. Then I see him. There's a black car parked halfway across our driveway. Windows tinted. Engine running. And standing next to it is a man I don't recognize, but he looks at me like he's been waiting. Tall, clean-shaven, dressed way too well for this neighborhood. He steps forward and says, Daniel? I freeze. Yeah? I'm a friend of Anna's. I think you and I should talk. Red flags. Full body tension. I grip the cat carrier tighter and say, I don't think we have anything to say. But he holds up his hands, palms out. No threat. Just this calm, unnerving energy. She told me you'd probably leave tonight. I thought you should know something before you go. About her. About Elle. That's when I realized he wasn't Elle. He was something else. I almost walked away. I should've. But something in his voice, it sounded like he knew things I didn't. Things Anna would never tell me. So yeah. I got in the car. Not my proudest moment. But it changed everything. The car smelled like expensive leather and some kind of cologne that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. We drove in silence for a while, just city lights and the hum of tires on asphalt. Then he said, "Elle doesn't exist. Not the way you think." I stared at him. What the hell does that mean? He pulled into a parking garage, killed the engine, and turned to face me. Completely serious. Anna created him. Created who? Elle, the man you think she was having an affair with. He's not real. I laughed. Like, actually laughed. Dude, I saw pictures. I read messages. I saw the letter. He nodded. You saw what she wanted you to see. Look, Anna's part of a private AI development group. Experimental level work. Human behavior modeling, deep neural simulation, that kind of thing. My brain was spinning. What does that have to do with her cheating on me? She built an AI lover. A virtual presence so convincing, she could simulate a relationship with him. Not just text. Images. Deepfakes. Calendar entries. Emails. She ran the whole thing like a live experiment for years. And you? You were the control group. I couldn't breathe. You're saying she used me as part of some kind of test? Yes. To measure the emotional fallout. Guilt, compartmentalization, behavioral drift. The AI was learning from her reactions. From yours too. I just sat there. Numb. Cold. She let you believe she was cheating so she could measure your response. And now the project's entering phase 2. What's phase 2? He didn't answer. Just looked at me and said, Daniel, you were never supposed to find out. After he dropped me off at a motel, I sat on the edge of the bed for what felt like hours. No TV. No lights. Just the soft purring of my cat in the corner, like she was the only living thing left that wasn't lying to me. She created him. The phrase looped in my head like a cursed ringtone. I kept trying to punch holes in it, kept thinking, what about the photos? The dates? The conversations? But the deeper I thought, the more things stopped making sense. The private calendar entries. The fact that I never met Elle in person. The perfect lighting in every photo. His absence from real-world events. Even the damn group selfie, had she planted that too? Was Sam in on it? Or worse, was Sam fake, too? I opened up my texts. Scroll through old conversations. Some of them now read like scripts. Short, vague, just enough to give me the illusion of connection. I couldn't tell what was real anymore. I couldn't trust anything. And then I remembered something that gutted me. A night, months ago. She came home crying. Said her friend had died suddenly. I held her for hours. Fed her tea. Sat with her while she scrolled through photos and whispered memories. That friend? I never met her. Never saw a funeral post. No obituary. Just gone. Did she invent grief to test how I'd respond to emotional trauma? Was I her experiment? I didn't sleep that night. I sat up thinking about every hug, every kiss, every time she said I love you. Every one of them might have been logged in a database. Labeled. Tagged. Quantified. And the worst part? A tiny part of me still missed her. The first thing I did was take everything, every document, every photo, every encrypted file I could find, and I destroyed it. Not just deleted it. I wiped it. Hard drive. Backup. Everything. I didn't know what the hell had been real anymore, but I knew this: if I was going to stop being a pawn in her experiment, I needed to control the information. So I threw away everything that could be used to manipulate me again. No more fake dates. No more AI-generated love letters. No more L. Next, I reached out to Sam. The one person I still thought I could trust. He was the guy who'd been tagging Anna in all those posts. The guy who knew more than he let on. So I called him. "Sam, we need to talk." There was a long silence before he replied, and when he did, it was shaky. "Daniel, I didn't want to get involved. She's complicated." Complicated? You knew what was going on and you did nothing? I couldn't. It's not that simple. You don't understand what she's part of, what they're doing. He sounded like he was pleading, like I was the crazy one for even asking. What do you mean by they? And how long has she been running this test? How much of our life was fake? Sam hesitated. The project started years ago. I wasn't supposed to get involved, but I ended up helping her a few times. Testing the emotional responses. Running different simulations. Trying to see how far someone could be pushed before they cracked. Anna's part of something bigger, Daniel. It's not just about you. I don't care about them, Sam. I care about her. About me. And that was the moment I realized something. I'd been obsessed with uncovering the truth, but all along, I'd been trying to hold on to something that wasn't even real. Anna had built a world for herself, and I'd been a part of it by default, a character in her grand experiment. So I hung up. I didn't need to hear any more. I wasn't going to wait around for someone else to tell me what my life had been. I was going to live it. I'd spent the last few days in a daze, bouncing between rage and numbness. But one thing was clear, I couldn't keep living like this. I couldn't keep existing in the echo of someone else's project, pretending that Anna's version of reality had any place in my life. So I left. I packed my things for real this time, left the motel behind, dropped the cat off with a friend, and took off. I had no plan, no destination. Just the urge to be somewhere else. I checked into a small apartment in a quiet part of town. No one knew me there. No history. No Anna. Just me and the space. For the first time in weeks, I actually slept. The kind of deep sleep that felt like a reset. I woke up and didn't have to answer to anyone. Didn't have to pretend I was okay with a life that wasn't mine. I started rebuilding. First, it was the small things. Grocery shopping. Cooking meals for myself. Walking around the neighborhood like I was the only person there. Everything felt different. Everything felt real again. I got a new job. A low-key one. No ambition to climb the ladder, just a way to occupy my mind while I figured out what I really wanted. I picked up hobbies I'd left behind, drawing, writing, reading books that had nothing to do with AI or tech or manipulation. Just me. And as the days passed, I realized something. I didn't need to understand everything about Anna's experiment to start living my life again. The world was bigger than her games. It came through late one night, right after I'd settled into the quiet of my new apartment. I was sitting on the couch, scrolling through some random news articles when my phone buzzed. At first, I thought it was spam, some marketing email or a random group text. But then I saw the name. Anna. My heart stopped. I stared at the screen for a moment, and then, like a bad reflex, I opened it. I didn't even know why. Maybe I thought I could find some closure, some final answer I could hold on to. Or maybe I just wanted to know if she'd try to explain herself. The message was simple. Daniel, I know you're angry. I get that. But I need you to understand something, none of it was personal. It was always about the data. The experiment. The way you responded. I never wanted to hurt you, but I had to do this. For the project. For us. For us. I felt like I was drowning in that phrase. Like she was still trying to drag me into her world, even after everything she'd done. The audacity. There was more. I know I crossed a line. I'm sorry. But if you leave it here, I swear I'll explain everything in time. We don't have to be over. Not completely. I can still fix it. Fix it. Fix me? I had to laugh, even though it hurt like hell. She had no idea what fixing it meant, or if it was even possible. I stared at the screen. My fingers hovered over the reply button. Part of me was tempted to write back. To demand answers. To scream at her for playing with my life like it was some experiment in a lab. But then I thought about all the months I spent holding on to someone who never really existed, not in the way I thought. I didn't reply. I just deleted the message. And for the first time in months, I felt like I was finally free. A few days after I deleted Anna's message, I thought I could breathe again. I thought I could finally let go and start fresh. But something kept gnawing at me, a quiet anxiety that refused to leave. It was like trying to close a door, but the wind kept pushing it open. I started noticing little things that felt off. At first, it was just my phone. Notifications I didn't recognize. Random numbers calling, but no one on the other end. I figured it was just a glitch, so I ignored it. But then came the strange emails. They weren't from Anna. But they were coded. Vague references to things I'd never told anyone. Things that only Anna knew. Things that made it clear that something was still keeping tabs on me. I tried to block everything out, but it got worse. I found surveillance footage of my apartment on a private drive, grainy footage of me, walking in and out, sitting on the couch, feeding the cat. It felt like they'd been watching me all along, like the experiment wasn't over after all. The worst part? It didn't feel like it was Anna's doing. It was like she was just one small piece of a much bigger, darker puzzle. So I decided to take action. I reached out to a friend who worked in cybersecurity. Told him everything. The AI. The surveillance. The fake affair. He agreed to help. We traced the source of the data. And that's when things got really weird. The trail led back to a company, one I'd never heard of. Some kind of tech think tank that had been funding experimental AI projects for years. And when I dug deeper, I found out something terrifying: they were already working on phase 2. The experiment wasn't over. I was just a subject in the middle of it. I thought I was free. But I hadn't even scratched the surface of what I'd gotten tangled up in. I didn't know who to trust anymore. I didn't even trust myself. It was like I'd been living in a simulation for so long that I couldn't tell what was real and what was orchestrated. The emails, the surveillance footage, the mysterious tech company, everything felt like it was pushing me towards something bigger than I could understand. That's when I got the final message. Not from Anna. Not from Sam. But from a name I didn't recognize. It was from the think tank's head researcher. The subject line: "We've been watching you for a long time, Daniel." The message was short but chilling. By now, you're aware that your life has been part of an ongoing study. Anna was a key element in the Emotional Response Project, and you were the prime control subject. We understand that the knowledge of this may cause you distress, but your role in the project is far from over. You have been selected for a new phase, one that will require your complete participation. We'll contact you soon with instructions. I'd been part of an experiment for years. I thought I was just a guy, struggling through a messy breakup, trying to figure out how to get over someone who wasn't who I thought she was. But no. I was never just a guy. I was a piece in a game I didn't even know I was playing. I couldn't do this anymore. I couldn't be a part of their research. I'd already lost too much: my trust, my sense of reality. But I wasn't going to let them control me any longer. I packed up everything I could again and I left. For good this time. I didn't know where I was going or what was next, but I knew one thing for sure: I couldn't be their subject anymore. This whole time, I'd been trying to get closure. To find answers. But there were none. Not in the messages, not in the data, not in anything Anna had said or done. The truth was, I had to move on not just from her, but from the whole system that had been pulling my strings. And that's what I learned in the end: you don't get closure. Not always. Sometimes, you just have to walk away. Take the lessons, drop the baggage, and keep moving forward. So, to anyone who's ever felt like they were being played with or manipulated by something bigger than them, just remember, you don't have to stay in the game. The moment you walk away, that's when you win. And with that, it's over. The end of the experiment. And maybe, just maybe, the beginning of something real. That's it. The whole story. It's wild, isn't it? You've followed me through the emotional roller coaster, and I hope you've learned something from it. If you're ever in a situation where you feel like you're being manipulated or controlled, just remember this: you have the power to break free. Don't let anyone, no matter how close they are, play you like a pawn.